the child?
He's 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
4-year-old boy. All right. So you have less pay now. Okay. And you're not in agreement to just decreasing his child support?
No, I'm not.
Why
I
not?
feel like he's lacking on his duties as the father. He also has another child with another woman. So I
she's
really don't
jealous.
think he's budgeting his money or time
She's
well,
jealous.
and I'm not going to accept his reduction.
Okay. So you don't believe he's budgeting right?
No, I don't. I think he's spending all his money on his new fiance and shoes.
So you're mad about that?
Yeah, I'm pretty mad about it.
Okay. Well, get over it. That's the first thing.
Facts,
Second thing is
get over it.
you said he has another child. So even without a reduction in what he makes, that requires an adjustment right there. Him having another child entitles him to get his child support adjusted.
Uh-oh.
Maybe he should get his attitude adjusted.
By law, he has a right to ask for a reduction in child support. And by your own admission, you gave me a second reason why he qualifies for it. What are you doing with the money, just out of curiosity?
I'm supporting Ricky, our child.
By support, what are you doing for him?
I practically pay for his private school.
Okay.
I'm buying him daycare when I leave for work.
Okay.
I pay for almost everything.
Okay. What are you using it for on yourself?
Nothing.
So you were using all $850 for the child only?
Yes.
Okay. Because it sounded like it was for another reason why you're so upset. Or is it just because of the new girlfriend?
Could be both.
Am I the only person that thinks that it's a problem that she's openly trying to sabotage this guy's life because she's jealous that he moved on? Everybody always talks about deadbeat dads, and I kind of agree, because if you're a man and you abandon your kids, you should be castrated. But from my experience, most men don't leave their kids. Most men leave failed relationships, and those are two totally different things, especially when you consider the court grants the mom custody 90% of the time. And yeah, more men should fight for custody, but when you're, I don't know, trying to feed your kid during a recession, you don't have $5,000 to $35,000 to just fork away to the court system. Why don't we ever talk about bitter moms that weaponize their kids and use the court system to extort men? 50-50 custody has time and time again proven to be the best way to raise a kid if their parents split. And if you can't do 50-50 custody, in my personal opinion, the kid should go with whoever has the most stability. Although 50-50 custody has proven to be the best way to raise a kid, the state will never allow it, because 50-50 custody means less or no child support. Child support is a $60 billion business here in America, and the state gets reimbursed 66% for every dollar they collect in child support. So more men on child support means more money in the state's pocket. In 2020 alone, the state of Texas collected a record high of $4 billion in child support. 66% of $4 billion is going to be reimbursed to the state of Texas by the federal government. So again, I have to ask, do they make these decisions for the best interest of the kid, or do they make these decisions to line their own pockets? 40% of kids living with a single mother live in poverty, while only 7.5% of kids living with both parents live in poverty. So if they were truly doing this for the best interest of the kid, why wouldn't the kid be given to the father that has a fiance instead of the single mother? I guess it's just business as usual.
If I believe in the idea of God, if millions of people believe in the idea of God, if millions of people do good things under the name of God, the same God, and they believe in him, and they pray to him, and they worship him, even if he's not a real person, as an idea in and of itself, it exists. And that idea which exists makes people act in the way in which God would want them to act, which makes God real. He may only be real as an idea, but that's real enough. You must understand, you're thinking of it as God as a person. You're thinking of it as the book. You must think of it as an idea in and of itself. If the idea of God is adhered to, and that makes society act underneath God's will, then he is real. If the idea of evil is real, if the idea of perversion is real, then the opposite force must be real. This is Newton's second law. There must be an equal and opposite force. If there are people out there trying to do evil, there are people who are out there trying to do good. And when you find the people in the world who are trying to do the best for humanity, they're doing it under the name of what? God. He is a real thing. because he is inspiring the resistance against the perversion of earth. And to sit here and say that God is not real, I understand your arguments.
Yeah.
The book is bullshit. He's not a person in the sky, blah, blah, blah.
I don't
You're
really think
thinking very one-dimensional.
I'm not
You're
in the
not
person
thinking
in the sky thing. I'm not really on that idea. I'd never thought that anyway.
You need to think beyond that and understand that all the perversion, all the negativity on the planet is being resisted under the name of one person.
Yeah.
And if that person
the idea of God.
If that person is an idea,
That's
which is God, then God exists.
That is the best way anybody has ever put it towards me, by the way, because when I've spoken to religious people in my past, I've spoken to people that are 70, 80 years old, been in this planet longer than all of us.
Yeah.
And they'll always give me the classic idea of the church and the God and the
it's not about that.
The stuff they read in the book. What you just said is a very different concept that I've never heard, by the way.
Look,
There's this idea that I was introduced to by one of my favorite history channels on YouTube. The channel is called What If Altist, and the idea is called God is More Real Than France, and this is how it goes. France is a social construct. Without people identifying as French and without the world acknowledging France as a country, it would essentially be a plot of land that would probably be gobbled up by Belgium. Tigers, however, are not a social construct, and if you see one and you believe it's a social construct, you'll probably be eaten alive because they are objectively real. If they wanted to, France, which is a social construct, could kill or save every single tiger on the planet. The power to manipulate its surroundings is what makes us consider France to be real. Using that same logic, throughout human history, people have done far more good and bad under the representation of God than they have under the representation of France. So if you're willing to acknowledge France is real because of its power and influence, you then have to acknowledge God is real because of his or her or its power and influence. I've actually been thinking about this, and I truly believe that societies need God because most people need God. And that's why every civilization throughout human history has always had one or multiple. It gives people purpose. When people stop believing in God, not all, but a good proportion of people start to believe that there is no purpose. And when people believe that there's no purpose, either they do the good thing and create their own purpose, or they start to turn to nihilism. And one of the main problems with nihilism is the inherent belief that there is no objective good or bad because nothing matters. And when you start to believe that there's no inherent good or bad way to live life, you tend to turn to degeneracy. And what's even worse than nihilism is when people don't have a religion, so they just create their own.
They're stampeding to create new religion all the time at the moment. Every new heresy that's invented. And they're not as well thought through as past heresies. They don't always have the bloody repercussions yet, but you can easily foresee a situation in which they do. I mean, a new religion is being created as we speak by a new generation of people who think they are non-ideological, who think they're very rational, who think they're past myth, who think they're past story, who think they're better than any of their ancestors and have never bothered to even study their ancestors.
Right. So,
what we don't talk about enough is the danger of the void. The danger of the void that is created when you throw away all the myths and the stories that got us to where we are today.
Professor Bridges, you said several times, you've used a phrase, I want to make sure I understand what you mean by it. You've referred to people with a capacity for pregnancy. Would that be women?
Many women, cis women, have the capacity for pregnancy. Many cis women do not have the capacity for pregnancy. There are also trans men who are capable of pregnancy, as well as non-binary people who are capable of pregnancy.
So this isn't really a women's rights issue.
We can recognize that this impacts women while also recognizing that it impacts other groups. Those things are not mutually exclusive, Senator Hawley.
So
punishable.
your view is that the core of this right then is about what?
So I want to recognize that your line of questioning is transphobic, and it opens up
Punishable. That is punishable.
trans people to violence by not recognizing that.
Wow, you're saying that I'm opening up people to violence by asking whether or not women are the folks who can have pregnancies?
So I want to note that 1 out of 5 transgender persons have attempted suicide. So I think it's important
Because of my line of questioning? So we can't talk about it?
Because denying that trans people exist and pretending not to know that they exist
I'm
is
denying that trans
dangerous.
people exist by asking you if you're talking about women having pregnancies?
Do you believe that men can get pregnant?
No, I don't think women can get
So you're
pregnant.
denying that trans people exist?
And that leads to violence? Is this how you run your classroom? Are students allowed to question you? Or are
Absolutely.
they also treated like this? Where
No,
they're
they're
told
allowed
that
to
they're
question me.
opening up people to violence
We have a good
by
time in my
questioning.
class. You should join.
Oh, I bet.
You might learn a lot.
Wow, I would learn a lot. I've learned a lot
I
just in this
know.
exchange.
Absolutely.
Extraordinary.
Yep.
You have to be shitting me. Just think about where we are in our society. I could be talking to a law professor. I know what a woman is. I know that you know what a woman is. You know that I know that you know what a woman is. Yet you're still going to sit here and lie to me, and people are going to slap their seal-like flappers together and pretend like this is the truth. Look, you can identify as whatever you want. There are kids that like to identify as Batman, and that's fine. It only becomes a problem when they start chasing down drug dealers for selling a gram of weed. That's where you draw the line. So you can identify as whatever you want, but where is the line? Because there has to be a line. Is the line where grown men start dominating little girls in sports? Or is the line where a biological man starts to win Woman of the Year award? Or maybe the line is where you start to indoctrinate other people's children without their parents' consent.
Hey, if your parents don't love and accept you for who you are this Christmas, fuck them. I'm your parents now. I'm proud of you. Drink some water. I love you. Bye.
I guess if people aren't willing to stand up for themselves, they deserve what's coming. Till next time.
If it's an issue, we gon' solve them. I got 99 problems I can go through by myself. You know I'm rockin' with you.